Only the dead have seen the end of war. That right there is quite the enduring quote, simply because it highlights the aspects to human nature. As Cormac McCarthy said, it makes no difference what men think of war. War endures. You might as well ask men what they think of stone. And that's because war was always here. Before man was, war waited for him. The ultimate trade, awaiting its ultimate practitioner. That is the way it was, and will be. And unfortunately, with our current stock of political leaders, we're headed for another global conflict. It seems that every few generations, the world becomes plagued by a sort of, historical amnesia. And that's really the crux of it. I'm afraid war is coming. The signs are actually all around us. And in reality, I believe the decision has already been made. So what are the signs? Well, let's check out the recent budget proposal. $61 billion for Ukraine in total, $20 billion to restock the Department of Defense, $15 billion for DoD operations in Europe, another $14 billion for Ukraine to purchase weapons, $8 billion to fund the Ukrainian government. Israel is getting $28 billion in total, $4 billion for the Iron Dome, $1.2 billion for the Iron Beam, because you can't forget the laser weapons, right? Anyway, from there we have $3.5 billion for Israel to purchase weapons from the United States. So yeah, we're going to give a loan so they could buy our weapons. Double dipping profits right there, a hallmark of the establishment. And then from there we have $800 million for ammo to patrol the Red Sea against the Houthis and Lebanon, I guess. $2.4 billion for getting the Indo-Pacific ready for war, which is, against China. Another $5.9 billion going to the DoD to replenish stocks. Another $542 million for ammunition in the Indo-Pacific region. Again, that's against China. $133 million for cruise missile components, and finally $3.3 billion for what they deem to be dry dock construction, whatever that is. So yeah, my point is that's a World War III spending bill. Now, we do have a few more signs, and to illuminate this, I want to show you a couple clips of Mike Johnson.
I'm doing here what I believe to be the right thing. I think providing lethal aid to Ukraine right now is critically important. I really do. I really do believe the intel and the briefings that we've gotten that I believe Xi and Vladimir Putin and Iran really are an axis of evil. I think they're in coordination on this. I think that Vladimir Putin would continue to march through Europe if he were allowed. I think he might go to the Balkans next. I think he might have a showdown with Poland or one of our NATO allies. To put it bluntly, I would rather send bullets to Ukraine than American boys.
Ah yes, the axis of evil, Iran, Russia, and China. But that's not all. He also calls himself a wartime speaker.
Look, we are in unprecedented times, okay? We're in dangerous times, as has been articulated here, around the world, and here at home. We need steady leadership. We need steady hands at the wheel. I regard myself as a wartime speaker. I mean, in a literal sense, we are. I knew that when I took the gavel. I didn't anticipate that this would be an easy path. Former Speaker Newt Gingrich posted a couple days ago on his social media that this is the hardest challenge that's faced a speaker probably in the history of the country, in the moment that we're in right now.
Yeah, so anyway, because of this, Thomas Massey is trying to get him removed. He said this on social media. Get a grip. We are not at war. You can't use that as an excuse to justify the passage of warrantless spying, a bloated omnibus, or $100 billion in foreign aid. End of quote. And well, he's not wrong, of course, but I saw someone else on social media, sorry I didn't save it, but they essentially said that the US would not be in any foreign wars unless the uniparty establishment makes it a self-fulfilling prophecy. Now the thing is, that's exactly what they are doing. Every action being taken, both domestically and internationally, is making this inevitable. And it's not like they simply don't understand what they are doing. It's all calculated. They want this. They all seem to want this. And I would bet while this dude, Mike Johnson, was getting briefed by the military-industrial complex, they made this very, very clear. The United States is already at war. The public just doesn't know it yet. Now, I gotta give you a doom pill, so apologies. But this is just the uniparty doing uniparty stuff. They do have big plans for this war, and he'll pass the funding for it, so the Democrats and the rest of the uniparty, well, they're all in on saving him. However, even if they do vote him out, do you really think you'll get a reasonable human as a replacement? Of course not. And again, I'm sorry for the doom pill, but this global conflict ties into a lot of their plans for the future, which is, of course, building back better from the ashes. So, we have talked about this before, but we have two rival economic systems competing. The future US monetary system, which the entire West advocates for, and then the rising BRIC system. Whoever wins out is going to control the new economic order, and therefore will control global investment for the next 100 years. That right there is what this is all about. And of course, they will go to war for that. What's really crazy to me is how the US establishment has made our nation entirely vulnerable to attack on multiple fronts. The number of people crossing the border illegally has surpassed the population of 36 states, and that is with little to no oversight. So I don't think we're really going out on a limb to suggest that there are sleeper cells in the United States right now. If we go to war with Iran, they will activate, and we will have multiple mass casualty terror attacks on US soil. There's just not a doubt in my mind about that. On top of that, domestically, we have a lot of people chanting death to America these days.
What do you think about the USA? What do you think about USA? Guys, when I think about the USA, it should burn! Death to America!
Last week, at an anti-Israel rally in Dearborn, Michigan, a crowd of Arab protesters erupted into chants of death to America.
For all of your chants and all of your shouts upon the head of America.
الموت لأمريكا! الموت لأمريكا! الموت لأمريكا!
The chants were not in English, they were in Arabic. These were recent arrivals.
So, it has two meanings, depending on who's asking. It can mean death to or down with. So,
Can we get a mark bar America?
we can get a Mark Bar America. Yes, we can. Mark Bar America!
Mark bar America!
Mark Bar America!
Mark bar America!
Thank you.
Israel protesters chanting death to America and burning the American flag. I just want you to check out their response. Roll tape.
Does it sound like this is pro-Palestinian or anti-American if they're burning American flags and chanting death to America?
I'm not privy to I haven't seen these reports. I'd have to check for them myself.
Do you support burning the American flag and chanting death to America? Anti-Israel protesters blocking the Brooklyn Bridge burned the American flag and chanted death to America. Do you condemn this type of rhetoric?
We've got to get her onto her next event.
So, yeah, that's always good, right? Now, I personally believe that the US establishment wanted to foment this anti-American sentiment, and that's because with domestic enemies, you have an excuse for domestic surveillance. The real funny part, for lack of a better term, is that the left doesn't even realize what they're getting themselves into. The left emboldens and advocates for the intel agencies to expand their power and target their political opponents. However, those same policies that they advocate for will soon be used against them. The whole point is to create a situation where US citizens will accept more draconian intrusions into your everyday life from the government. It's an excuse for authoritarianism amidst the wartime chaos. After all, this is the chaos plan, through and through. Now, this is where things get pretty weird. So we have talked about their plans for war via the budget, and we've talked about how they seem to be intentionally making us susceptible to an attack from within. Well, get this. The feds simulated a nuclear attack. And in this simulation, the attack was initiated by domestic groups. Yeah, kinda sounds like foreshadowing to me. So let's jump into this article right here. This was written by Ken Silva, and I quote, "The National Guard, FBI, and other agencies conducted an exercise involving a frantic search for a nuclear dirty bomb. This simulation took place at a basketball and hockey arena in Trenton, New Jersey last month. As noted by The Intercept, the national security state has been conducting these exercises ever since 9/11. But this time, government agencies were drilling for domestic terrorists instead of groups such as Al-Qaeda or ISIS. Participants in the terror attack simulation were told, and I quote, "The FBI just received intelligence that a well-resourced domestic terrorist group planted a bomb, including one with cesium-137, a radioactive isotope, in the arena," end of quote. Now, apparently, the drill was constructed to resemble the TV series 24, which dramatized the concept of a ticking time bomb, and the extraordinary measures it might justify, including torture and other such tactics. Doesn't that sound nice? However, the real sticking point is that 24 portrayed the dirty bomb plot as being masterminded by foreign terror groups similar to those that carried out 9/11. But today, the FBI is pointing the finger at a domestic terror group, that is, Americans. Yes, the US military outpaces not just Hollywood, but also the facts, as our country has yet to experience anything close to that, a nuclear attack from domestic terrorists. However, they seem to be preparing for it. The Intercept went on to say, and I quote, "The FBI says in its fiscal year 2025 budget request to Congress that during 2023, Its Weapons of Mass Destruction Directorate disrupted 42 incidents, made 62 arrests. They had 43 indictments and 56 convictions. However, none involved actual nuclear materials or a dirty bomb. There is no evidence that any domestic terrorist group has ever been well-resourced enough to construct a nuclear dirty bomb. But that has not stopped Washington from building on January 6th narratives, to feed its current domestic extremism obsession and fear-mongering about it, end of quote. While The Intercept was correct in that assessment, the FBI has actually tried to provoke a domestic nuclear attack before. Yes, you heard me correctly. The FBI has tried to provoke a domestic nuclear attack in the past. Yes, indeed, in the FBI's 1990s era Operation Patriot Conspiracy, or PATCON for short. A one-time FBI informant named Tom Posey plotted to attack Browns Ferry nuclear plant in Alabama. The point was to, steal a cache of weapons. You see, Posey at the time was the leader of the Civilian Material Assistance Group, which was a CIA-backed group that participated in the 1980s Contra Wars, which took place in Nicaragua. Now, this little bit was reported back in 2011 by Newsweek, and I quote, "This guy, Tom Posey, thought a second American Revolution was imminent, and he was hoping to help fund it by selling off these weapons for profit. To make their getaway, Posey planned to set off a bomb in the plant's control room," end of quote. And so this guy, Tom Posey, allegedly became friends with several of the nuclear plant guards, who were on the take, and they even helped perform recon. He finalized his plans by October 1993. However, he did not follow through with it, and instead he was arrested that month for selling stolen night vision goggles. But no one was ever charged for the alleged plot to attack a nuclear plant, perhaps because Posey himself was an FBI informant. End of quote. So, as they say, the entire world's a stage, right? Now, if this does come to pass, you'll have to ask yourself one question. Could this be a false flag operation to tighten their grip on the domestic population? Or on the other hand, could it be a 9/11 type of situation, where intelligence is ignored, as a pretense to initiate a global conflict? All I can say is keep your eyes open and your mind clear, because things are getting pretty dicey.
There is another very important phase of warfare. It has as its target not the body, but the mind of the enemy.
The target of psychological warfare is against the enemy's mind.
It is words and ideas.
The ammunition used by Cyber.
And I know, that's a pretty quick video this week, but I have some plans for the future, so just stay tuned. Until next time though, once again this is HelioWave. If you like the content, like, comment, and subscribe. Share the video if you want to. If you're in a position to, consider subscribing on Locals or Subscribestar. As always, make sure you disobey those true fascistas, and yes, I do hope you have a good night.